Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired. What's up, Holmes?
Real show.
Well, first Holmes was born.
It's live.
I can still smell the fumes. He's pointing at me. What does that mean? It's so intimidating.
I'm nervous.
Oh, you'll be great. Everyone loves you already.
All right, yeah.
Being naturally affable and laughy will get you a long way, I find.
Yeah. I haven't been on TV or screen, you know. People haven't seen me.
Oh, hey, are we doing the show? I think it's on.
It looks like, yeah.
Hey, everybody,
Hello.
welcome to the show. I'm Jonathan Holmes. This is my talk show on the internet called Sup Holmes, where I talk to video game developers. And it's my goal, I was just going to say to my guest on the show, it's my goal to make you guys famous, because you freaking deserve it. You're way more important than the Kardashians or who's that other one, the dancer, you know? You're way more important than the dancer, Jasper Byrne. Is that how I say your last name, Byrne?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, good. I got it right.
Yeah.
And Jasper Byrne is a longtime game developer. He's put out mostly freeware games, but he just spent 4 years of his life putting out a game for sale called Lone Survivor, and everyone I know who's played it has literally like melted into a puddle and been like, oh, how did he do it? It's so good. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are in puddles right now, seeing you and seeing how dashingly handsome you are. My goodness. Have you always been such a good-looking man?
That's very kind of you, Jonathan. I don't really think about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm breaking the ice with tension. That works. Someone out in the
and may I just say that you're a very handsome man yourself.
Wow, this is like
point.
the best looking game show going, I bet. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you created Lone Survivor. Lone Survivor is a 2D survival horror game that is influenced somewhat by Silent Hill. But most of the people I know who love it say, remember when Silent Hill was good? It's like that, except in 2D. Yeah. You can just buy it on Steam or on your computer and whip it right up. But tell us more about Lone Survivor and the process you went through in dedicating 4 years of your life to making this 2D survival horror game. That was quite a risk.
I suppose, I mean, it wasn't really 4 years. It was more like, a year full-time and maybe like 8 years sort of pre-production stroke making. And, I guess I really started the game called Lone Survivor about 4 years ago, but I've been working on the idea of a sort of dream-based, using dream logic type adventure game really for a long time before that, since sort of about 2005 or 6 or something.
Okay.
I kind of it evolved into that at a certain point because I made this game called Sam's Mountain, which is a demake of Silent Hill. Which you guys featured on Destructoid, and actually that was like my first bit of gaming press that I ever got. So
really?
Thanks for that, guys.
Oh, anytime.
That was when Colette was still with you guys, and and she interviewed me.
The lovely Colette Bennett. She was on a podcast with me in Sinistar years ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, I'm still. I've just been speaking to her recently, and she's writing about it as well. And so basically, I made that game, and it seemed to sort of strike something of a chord, I guess, and it kind of made me realize that maybe there was a reason that sort of adventure games seem to progress into survival horror at a certain point. Like survival horror kind of emerged at the same time adventure games died in a way. Like, I mean, what we know of modern survival horror, like Resident Evil and that sort of thing. So at the same point, like LucasArts adventures and point and click adventures and stuff were dying out. They started to make these games that were kind of adventure-like on the PlayStation, with picking up items using puzzles and that sort of thing. And I guess I kind of saw the appeal of like making more of an action game, but with an adventure backdrop, so that because I think one of the problems with adventure games is that you you either love them or you don't, because they have this inherent problem, which is that if you can't solve it mentally, you can't actually progress, you know, and that's quite often, you know, a big barrier to entry, I think, with adventure games. And I wanted to make a game where you could progress all the way through and see the whole thing, no matter what, but still kind of tell a rich story like an adventure game, I suppose.
Yeah,
that was kind of how the idea came about. It was sort of those two things, really. The themes and everything were always fairly similar. They've only changed, you know, really in the last year. I think I've started to add more layers onto it as I've been working on it full time and kind of.
You said a lot of awesome. I didn't want to interrupt you because it was also awesome, but I want to kind of touch on some of those things. One of the things I think has caused one of the reasons why Lone Survivor is hitting so hard right now and that people love it so much is because people have been wanting survival horror to go back to survival horror. Like you said, there was a progression from adventure games to survival horror, but now survival horror is kind of just turned into like nervous action. Like you're freaked out, but you're totally empowered in most survival horror games. Everything.
Sure. I mean,
back to the disempowerment days and the narrative days, and just kind of like soaking in the atmosphere instead of just blowing things heads off the whole time. Doing that definitely was perfect timing. Perfect timing, and it sounds like that was somewhat of a plan you had. It wasn't just happenstance. You actually
I mean, for me, like with it sort of stopped there with Silent Hill 2 was almost like the peak of that, you know, because they really did some advanced things mechanically with that game, like they kind of haven't really been bettered, you know, in a way, like. The way your ending is determined in that game is really interesting. You know, it's sort of all mysterious, it's hidden, and you know, it analyzes certain things about the way you play, and I think that's like the prototype for Lone Survivor. But sort of, I tried to take that a lot further, I guess, in Lone Survivor by making it like even the tiniest, most inconsequential action actually has an effect on your ending, you know. But I think they kind of I saw when that game came out, I saw sort of the potential to go further with that idea, you know. But nobody did it, you know. It just sort of like Silent Hill 3 was actually sort of much closer to the first game in that it was just like a game that was trying to scare you, and it was you know, it has some really interesting stuff in it, and so does the first one, I think. But the second one in particular has just got this sort of unusual like level of depth to the character and the story, which is kind of
in a sense of. I think what you did with Lone Survivor and what Silent Hill 2 did is it gives a sense of importance to everything that you do, but you don't know how important it is, and you don't know.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
in a fun way.
Yeah, there's for example, I mean, I think a lot of this has also come from recently playing. Anyone that sort of follows my Twitter or anything will know that I'm a massive like Dark Souls, Demon Souls fan, and I've been playing these games a lot recently, and I think one of the things that I love about that as well is a similar thing, because you never quite know what effect a decision is going to have in that game. Even though you've got your statistics visible in that game, there's a hell of a lot of stuff that's like completely sort of opaque, basically. You just don't know what's going to happen when you speak to a certain character, or if you leave them in mid-conversation, or if you answer a certain question a certain way, and you just don't know where it's going to lead, and it kind of leads to this sort of instinctive playing that's really interesting, I think. That's what I was trying to maybe get out of the player in this game, is to by not telling them, you know, morality plus, morality minus, you know, or like health plus, health minus. It gives them sort of, it makes them play instinctively, maybe, and in
a way that has emotional realism to it.
Yeah, rather than trying to min-max things, you know, and actually you know, like actually trying to figure out the stats underneath. And I was really, I worked hard to kind of hide all that stuff.
I hope you make the next Pokemon game. Because, Pokemon
Why, is there too many stats in there or something?
Yeah, it's all about like making your Pokemon pork in the right way so their stats go up, and it's kind of ruined the metagame of Pokemon. That's a separate topic.
I mean,
what you
as
did
a player, it's fascinating that as well when it's all on the surface. I mean, you know, Dark Souls again like does that as well. It has your stats there, and you know you can work out how to get the most powerful weapon and stuff. So I think sometimes like that kind of stuff is really addictive and works well in an interesting way. You know, but also yeah, I guess with narrative games, it's far more interesting when the player is going to do something that's like based on their role playing or their you know how they see their character or you know their protagonist that they're playing with, I guess.
Well, what it does for me anyway is it adds what I call emotional realism. Like you can have realistic graphics and feel like the place you're in is realistic, and that'll give you an emotional sense of place. But I don't always feel like I am those characters when they clearly are not me. I'm looking at a realistic face that's not my face. Well, with your characters,
I mean, I love it in movies when you know when you see the character just making his dinner or you know or like feeding their animal or just focus on those little details in your life that kind of make you more, you know, make you human, I guess, and make you who you are. And I tried to, I suppose I tried with this game to like, despite the, you know, the horror and the surrealism, like tried to actually make the game really realistic in a weird way, you know, like with all of those details, you know, the
how many
anal way you have to get coffee and that kind of thing. And, like,
and I'd heard those details were based on your life a little bit, that Lone Survivor has some autobiographical aspects to it.
It's because I mean, when you've been working in a cave effectively for a year, and because before that I was actually working in the industry, and I had plenty of human contact, and you know I have my wife and everything, but still, like when you're just in your studio every day for a year, you obviously get a bit of cabin fever, and you kind of start to go a little bit mad, and so it was very easy to transpose the kind of like the daily madness that I was going through, trying to get the game finished, you know, onto the character. And, so I think it just happened almost naturally, you know.
And you want people to buy it, right? Don't take the first aid thing off to back up. You put out a $10 version of the game, and now it's also on Steam. It's also I think it's $40 or $50 the first aid.
It was 50, yeah.
50. And then you were saying like, I'm sorry you bought the first aid version. It's so much money. I shouldn't sell that anymore because it's too much. I'm making too much money, guys. I feel bad about it. Wow. That's no one says that, as you know. That's a special thing to say, that you don't want money.
It's not. Yeah, I just feel. I don't know. I just hate the process of selling. You know, to be perfectly honest, I hate it, and I've actually found it really difficult since launch, because it's the first game I've ever actually had to sell myself and do all the customer service and everything, you know, actually have a store effectively, and you know be there like all day long, sort of, you know, like dealing face to face with customers, and it's been a real like learning experience, but I just don't. I hope I don't have to go through it again. I hope next time, like, there's somebody there, you know, to kind of buffer me from it, and I can get on with just making things, because I hate the process of selling. It's not.
Is it the making money part that makes you uncomfortable? When people are like, "Here's some money."
I mean, obviously, like, I only wanted enough out of it to make, you know, to make the next game, but. Obviously, like, I've got a family, I've got a daughter, and I would, you know, I don't own a car, I've never owned a car or a house, and I would like to maybe one day own a house, you know, for my daughter, you know, and wife, but yeah, so obviously, like, if it's, you know, if silly money is going to just come in, then obviously I have to, you know, be grateful and happy, but it's just really uncomfortable for me. It's like, I don't know. I want to help. The first aid edition, I mean, that was specifically about that one, was that I wanted money at the time to do some more freeware work, right? And
you wanted more money.
No, but the thing is, right? I don't actually want to. You know. Take money from people to make freeware stuff when I can actually fund it myself. Do you see what I mean?
I do. Oh, I want you to be rich though. Let me. I'm gonna change your life. I'm gonna make you so comfortable with getting rich. Because you're making PC games, and there's a thing to that, which I think morally, in terms of taking money, you can find a way to feel comfortable with it. Because people could easily just pirate your game if they wanted to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All the time on PC, but they want to buy it, and I wanted to buy it. I bought the first 8 edition. One, because I want that the piece of art that comes with it. I'm really excited to hang that on my wall.
Which is coming soon.
Well, take your time. Take your time. But I'm excited about that. So not only did I value the product, but when I played the demo of your game, I said, I want this guy to be rich. I get to decide with my money who should be rich and who shouldn't be. And if it were up to me, I'd like to help you and make you rich. So it was a choice I made. You didn't twist my arm. You didn't, like, trick me.
No.
You were just like, if you want to give me money, you can, or you can just pirate it. And I was like, not only do I want to give you money, I want to give you as much money as I can. And that's how your fans feel about you. It's because
I think most developers would say, like, you know, that they would rather people play their games than didn't. And you know, I think no matter what you can afford to pay, and if that means pirating it, then fine. You know, I'm not gonna, like, say go and pirate my game right now, but I would far rather people did that and then paid for it later if they liked it. You know, and which people do, right? You know, there's a link on a very well-known pirate site, right, to my own website, you know, saying go buy the game if you like it. I honestly don't mind. You know, this comes up a lot, and you can't do anything about it for a start. You know, and even trying to is pointless, especially when you've only got one person behind you. And so I just, you know, and a few people have asked me, and like, you know, can I have a copy of your game or whatever, and yeah, I'll just say, you know, I'm obviously not going to, like, give you out a link, but just go and get it, and you have my blessing. You know,
that doesn't surprise me at all. You may be the most humble man on the planet. Speaking of money, I have
Jonathan, I don't think. Honestly, I think most indie guys are like this anyway. Like,
I know a fair amount of indie guys.
If you spoke to most, actually, you know, people in AAA development, they probably feel the same way, although they wouldn't put a public front on it. You know, they wouldn't actually say it like, you know, in Develop magazine, right? But they would say it like to a friend, maybe. You know.
You know, the thing about being the most humble man on the planet is that when you're told you're the most humble man on the planet, you say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Cliffy B is just as humble as I am.
I can't win though, can I?
But no, you just proved my point. You are the most humble man on the planet. I'm going to quickly remind people, let's see, we're 20 minutes in. This is perfect time to do it. Speaking of money, we're giving away $30 worth of Threadless.com money. Threadless.com, it's a company. They did this shirt. It's a Star Fox, realistic Star Fox thing. Isn't that cute? That's like, I think, 10 or 20 bucks on their store. And I wore one of their shirts on all my PAX videos. And they liked the PAX video. And we're like, hey, we'll give you some money to your fans. In order to do it, though, I don't want to just give it away because that wouldn't be as fun. There will be a trivia question near the end of the show about a survival horror game. And you can write to holmesupholmes@gmail.com. That's holmesupholmes@gmail.com with the answer to the question, and I'll pick a random answer. So yeah, do that thing. It'll be fun. Let's see, and we have a question in from one of the people in the chat. That's 2+2 is Joe asks, will Jasper make the same amount of money if I buy the game on Steam, or will he make more from the dedicated website? He wants you to get as much money as you possibly can. How does he do it?
Well, I shouldn't really, like, officially advocate one channel or the other, but obviously, you know, if I'm selling it directly myself, it's gonna, you know,
you can
have less of a cut for somebody else, maybe. Like, but you know, it's up to you. Whichever platform you prefer, I would say.
Of course, you can.
Yeah.
How are the sales going on Steam so far?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. Yeah, I mean, it
Pretty
is
good?
amazing what they can do for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm just kind of in shock actually. It's
You
been a
sound
week
like it.
now, and it's done great. It's done
Well,
really great.
the reason for that, I think, is that Steam has people who actually love Steam and like feel a need to support the platform. This is they feel a
Yeah,
need to support their game. So what Valve has done to make their audience feel connected to them is what you are doing too. So it's a perfect match in that way. I'm not surprised to hear that your
it's
game and
really
Steam.
interesting. Like, yeah, the whole way they do business is just so unusual. Like, and it works. It really works. And yeah, I've just sort of seen a tiny bit from the inside, but it's just amazing. I mean, they know how to please customers. They really do. And I
Yeah.
think there's very few people who are sort of dissatisfied that use it. And yeah, um, it's just like amazing what I've actually been doing updates for the game and sending them out sort of individually to people, and seeing how many of those are actually turned into Steam codes, because they have the choice of having it DRM free or on Steam, which does actually have a sort of form of DRM in effect, but they still would rather it was on Steam, like just because they have that sort of implicit trust in Valve, I guess. And
Yeah,
that's, yeah, it's
absolutely.
great. It's because they built that up over years, I guess, of sort of proving that they've got good customer service. And
Oh, sure,
yeah,
sure. And just good games, and people care about
yeah,
Valve
and
as a
yeah,
company. Yeah.
that's it. I've only started to use it recently myself, because I've been on Mac always, so I made the game on a Mac. So yeah, I've actually only just got it because they only recently brought it on Mac. So it's nice to be able to release a game on both platforms there as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
One thing there was a couple of things I meant to ask. One, did you play Silent Hill Shattered Memories at all?
Oh, I just started playing it. Yeah, I've just started. I kind of, I want to love it. It's one of those things that, yeah, it's really interesting because it's actually obviously, like, people have pointed out that there's certain things in common maybe with what I was trying to do in Lone Survivor, and
I feel like it's much more. I'm going to say it for you because you're the most polite man on the planet and humble too. Silent Hill Shattered Memories does a little bit of what you did with Lone Survivor, but it like shoves it down your throat. It's like, guess
very
what?
direct.
Psychologically, right now you're painting the house. Wonder if that'll show up later in the psychological test, guys.
That was the one that jumped out at me actually. Yeah, because it cut straight from that scene to the other one, right?
Yeah.
And so, you finish painting the house, and it fades into the painted house, and it sort of loses the impact. If they'd somehow stuck that in the background and later on in the thing, and you hadn't even really clocked it, but then you sort of like were aware, oh, wait a minute, what was that? And that might be kind of interesting, but
I think they did.
Subtlety was not there with that game, and I don't know. The combat sections are, obviously other people have said this as well to me, but I hated them. I hated the wee waggle trying to get the monsters off me. I don't know. It might have worked if it had been sort of classic Silent Hill environments, but the ice just didn't work for me. It wasn't. It wasn't frightening in any way. It was
the game was interesting, but not frightening to me at all.
Yeah, there was the flashlight sections just wandering around with basically no. Can I swear on?
Yeah, sure, we'll swear all you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, but basically, I was going to say fuck all like view. Basically, you've got a really small view cone, on your flashlight, and then that's kind of cool. Like it's probably one of the best flashlights I've used, just because it's got the Wii pointer, and it's really like over bright, but it sort of makes the art look strange, and the art, I don't know, it's just not got the X factor.
It doesn't feel like Silent Hill. It feels like some nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting experiment. I think if it hadn't been called Silent Hill, I'd have probably liked it a lot more. And had it not had the token monsters in there, I'd have probably liked it more. If it had just been a pure adventure, probably.
Sure. You can't. It happens to people with the Zelda series a lot too. Whatever new one, they can't help but compare it to the old one. They're playing the new Zelda, and they're just thinking about the old Zelda and how they miss it. time. It's.
I mean, look at movies. You know, like which franchise gets to like number 10 and is still any good? Like, you know, it's rare. Actually, Final Fantasy X was probably my last real, great one from that series for me.
I didn't even get that far. I got into 9, and then I just had to. It just didn't feel the same to me anymore. I was constantly comparing.
10 was really cool. I like that game a lot. I think it sort of stands out. It's a little bit more like the 7th one because it's no, sorry, is it the 8th one? I don't know, but it's like I always like the non-active time battle ones. So it's a really kind of thoughtful battle system. It's really slow and considered, and you kind of you take a lot of time to think about each move. It's quite a different style from all the others that sort of come out around it.
It's coming to the Vita pretty soon, so I can get it on the Vita. Speaking of the Vita, everyone's asking me, can Jasper please, in his spare time, put his game out on handhelds? The Vita and 3DS people have been asking me about. And I've been speaking to Jules Watcham, who does 3DS games. He just emailed me saying, make sure to ask Jasper if he wants Lone Survivor on 3DS, I can talk.
Well, it's definitely something I'm interested in. I suppose at the moment, obviously, most in my mind is just having a break, and having a rest from it, because I haven't had any kind of rest for about 9 months, solidly. And I guess, after that, I really wanted to just sort of, when I'm refreshed, sort of think about my options. Because, I guess I went straight from, basically, I went from a job into being made redundant, and where I made Soul Brother, which came out on Adult Swim, and then I immediately got hired back in the old job, and I was back there, and then I left that job, and then made Lone Survivor. So it's sort of all been, non-stop. And I guess I just need a kind of few weeks to sort of maybe just even make games that aren't, freeware things that are just really for the fun of it again. And
well, that's how you want to take a break, is to make more games?
I guess, no, not get a break from making games. I want to make some small little things again, just for experimenting.
Don't you just want to go to the Bahamas or something and sit
but by break I mean an actual holiday as well, maybe at some point.
I hope so. I want you to survive.
But as well as that, not do another massive project right immediately. But I'm really interested in the idea of porting it. But I think I would have to get somebody that would basically do it for me, as long as I could supervise it and sort of make sure it felt right, and and offer up my 2 cents on the controls and stuff. And
I'm sure that would happen.
But I mean, I live around the corner from Terry Kavanagh, who did the VVV game, and and he's he's done the 3DS port of V. And that's with through Nicalis, and they actually sort of did that for him, basically. Well, a coder ported it, and he oversaw it. And there's been a couple of other ports that have been done, but he's sort of overseen, which it just worked really well. As long as you're kind of there watching it, making sure the feel is right. That's the main thing.
For sure.
Terry's really sort of nice. He wouldn't let it out until the exact frame timings of Captain Viridian's jump was exact, and felt identical and everything. So,
I thought that port.
I think as long as you oversee the port and just don't do a shoddy port like that, like some people do, that's sort of very outsourced and no real love and attention. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do a port like that. But then again, I don't want to port it myself either. Personally, I don't want to write reams and reams of code again just to make the game on another system.
And to be clear, people should know, on Lone Survivor, you didn't just design it. You did the graphics. You also did the music too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Is there any part of the game you did not do?
There's a few pieces that people contributed, like the portrait of the main characters right in the beginning is by Selena Dean, aka Bento Smile, who's done a really cool bunch of indie games, quite often very interesting visual novels, kind of art games. She lives very close to me as well, and another Cambridge indie, and so she did the portrait, and there's Soul Brother animation in there. I don't know if you spotted it when you were playing, but if you go in the video game arcade, and then one of the machines goes on, and yeah, there's a sort of a track screen that plays, and it's like a little miniature version of my previous game that somebody did.
Oh, cool!
And it's just a sort of looping animation, and you see the first title screen, the first few screens of it. It's really nice. It's all in like 10 pixels wide, you know, like 6 pixels high.
For people that don't know, Soul Brother is a game you made for Adult Swim where you play as a ghost. Yeah. It's a free game.
As a ghost, yeah, and a bunch of animals that you jump between. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's another game about death. I should stop making games about death, I think.
I don't think so. It's something that,
really cheerful, you know. Although Soul Brother's kind of happy game, really. It's about reincarnation rather than death. It's about reincarnation, you know, the circle of life and that sort of thing, attaining perfection or something. Yeah, it's not a like grim game like Lone Survivor. It's a very bright and colourful one.
Right, but
I probably
still acknowledges, you're going to die.
You're going to die, you know.
Yeah,
but
it's a good thing to let people know, because they might forget.
It's the circle of life, you know. It's
just like the Lion King. You're just like making them. That's all you're doing. We have some questions coming in from Random Pixel. You think you'll keep making games independently, or are you willing to work for a AAA studio? And I know you've worked for some studios in the past.
Well, yeah. I mean, as you say, I've worked in one already, and twice in the same one, and I don't think I could go back now. I'm so used to having my own space and just having kind of full control of what I want to make. I was frustrated there, just not feeling like I had enough creative input, and just because even if you've got a really cool idea, you have to sell it to everybody else, and you have to sell it to the publishers, and you have to, because I was a designer rather than a coder or or something. So you really do have to sell your ideas. It's like you have to go there and you have to fight for them and make sure that they happen if you really believe in them and that kind of thing. And it was quite hard work doing that, and you quite often meet brick walls for certain reasons, be it like any level. It could be within the company, it could be within the publisher, it could be within and sort of, because I was working with Microsoft and Disney, and so there was a lot of red tape, obviously, and there always is, right, with these big companies. And
sure.
I like the immediacy of indie games, because you don't have to answer to anyone. You just like make whatever it is you like, and just hope that people like it,
Right.
And just kind of hopefully have the faith that your niche, the kind of game that you're making because you want to, because they don't exist, or because you're trying to fill a niche that's empty or something, that you personally want to play, that there'll be other people that will feel that way as well,
It's a perfect. That's right in line with what I wanted to say in retort, which is that if you got to make Lone Survivor for a big studio, it would have turned out like Silent Hill Shattered Memories, most likely, because they didn't want to they didn't want to take the same risks. They didn't have the same confidence in the player that you had.
I don't think I would have been able to, for example, make the mental health an invisible statistic in that game.
Right.
For example, that's the kind of thing that would very much be a big fight in a AAA studio. And like, for example, I was working on Connectimals and the pet sim, the Connect pet sim, right?
I didn't know you worked on Connectimals. Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. What'd you do on Connectimals? You do the whiskers?
So yeah, and the problem is like you can't have an animal with needs, because the animal can't appear to get dejected effectively. So you can't have an interesting simulation, because you can't have an animal with needs effectively.
You can't have any negativity.
The hierarchy of needs is like one of the fundamental basis of AI and things, and like having those things driving your your sort of creature would which is effectively like you does in Lone Survivor. He has needs, and these things depreciate over time and stuff, and he does get hungry and he gets tired, and but we weren't allowed to do that, for example, like just because it's kids and they don't want to see a tiger get all like dirty or dejected or like that's the kind of thing. But I would have loved to do it, but do it in a sensitive way and do it in a nice way, and we sort of but you to and fro over these things, and like and I think we eventually came across the idea of like the animal gets dirty but it can clean itself, and and that sort of thing. So as you compromise and you still try and get a little bit of your basic idea in there, but it's always sort of a compromise, and
I really wish you just made connectables exactly the way you wanted to, with like tigers getting depressed and like drinking coffee and feeling all confused and not sure if they want to go on. That would have been awesome. Maybe next time.
Well, yeah, I wanted to make I wanted to absolutely have a game that was not in any way disrespectful to tigers. I found it really difficult morally to have the tigers having collars, and as they do in the game, and it was something I really was against. I probably shouldn't be saying this. I don't know, maybe.
Okay. You're not saying
it to
anyone. You're just talking.
I'm under NDA about these sort of things, but like, I didn't feel that it was right, and a lot of other artists and people in the company didn't like it either. The modelers that had to make the spike color for a tiger were not too happy, and they liked tigers or whatever, and
I would have never guessed we'd be talking about this today. The spiked collectible somehow came up. We only have 23 minutes left.
Good times. Well, yeah, God, I could tell you some stories about working with Kinect. Oh, God.
I would love you to. Hopefully we'll have time for them. But I do want to get to some questions just in case. Nemisku asks, Jasper Byrne, are you comfortable with the idea of fans coming up to you in person? Being like,
I've never met any, but in theory, yeah.
But now that they know what you look like, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I used to make music, and so like I was obviously meeting people while I was DJing and things, So it was, although I'm quite shy, I did, I was a DJ, so it was a kind of job where you do meet a lot of people, and it's sort of in the darkness of a club, but like.
I didn't know you were a DJ too.
Yeah, before
awesome.
I joined the Frontier, I was a DJ for 10 years, and yeah.
10 years? So when you were 12? Well, 10 years ago? How old are you? That can't be right.
I'm 36 next month.
No!
Yeah.
Shut up. You're older than me somehow?
Yeah. I'm older than you, am I?
Yeah, just by a year. That's a shame.
Yeah.
You do it.
I've been making games since the Spectrum era, man. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was 8 when I first got one, but like, that's when I started dabbling with it. And,
sure. Yeah, I tried making games on the Commodore 64 when I was 10. Little cat animation.
I didn't realize they were big in the States. Were they over there? Yeah.
They weren't that big, but it was the only computer I could get. I saved up babysitting money, $200 for the computer, and then I had to save up another $200 for the floppy disk drive. And that
Right.
like a year and a half, but it was worth it.
The
That makes me want to
1541
ask.
or something, yeah. Was it the 1541 or something? Yeah.
I think so.
The disk drive.
Yeah. It was. I still have all the discs. A lot of them melted. I left them in the car once, but
Oh man, yeah, that Commodore 64 has got something priceless in it. It's got the SID music chip in it, which is just amazing. Like people rip those out of old Commodores and turn them into synthesizers. They're like amazing.
Really?
Yeah, so don't throw it out. Like even if it's dead, like make sure you harvest the SID chip from it. Yeah.
I would have never guessed. Yeah, I still have that in the disk drive. I don't throw anything away. I have every game.
Yeah.
I've ever bought.
Have you got quite a museum of computers then?
What?
Have you got quite a museum of machines and?
If by museum you mean a dust-covered closet filled with sheets, then yeah, I've got an Atari 5200 still and all that stuff.
But you don't have like a sort of massive games room or something, because it's kind of how I imagine all journalists, with their huge games room and their leather recliner and they're sort of like every game console in the world, you know.
No, I do have a lot of video games. I'm looking at like 100 Wii games over there in the corner, but I don't have the nest building mentality to actually make it look good. They're all
like that guy, you know, that angry video gamer nerd guy, right?
Oh yeah,
I've seen him. So he's got pretty much everything there, right?
Yeah, he's organized though. I'm more of a slob, sadly. I did want to ask, would you ever want to make a music game? People are asking me. Molder Knight is asking, would you want to make games in any other genre? Knowing that you're a DJ has me thinking about you making a music game.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to. I experimented with a sort of Res-like game at one point, and I had a lot of trouble because a lot of the really good audio libraries and software and stuff is really, really expensive. So you have to kind of, if you're gonna make a game with it, you sort of need to commit to it and like buy the tools, you know. There's two sort of industry standard ones, which a lot of, you know, all the big game companies use, I guess. And to actually get good timing and things like that, and actually be able to trigger things on the beat nicely, you're either going to sort of have a really hacky job with like loads of third-party stuff, you know, open source things and things, or you're going to have to sort of actually, you know, get a proper thing. It's why I don't see that many indie ones, you know, and I think the people that do have kind of just got really good programmers behind them, you know,
sure.
do that sort of stuff. But
yeah,
I'd really like to. I did actually make one music game. It's called Rockabilly Head. It's you'd like this one, Jonathan. I think.
I thought I would.
So yeah, you're a guy who basically wants to be a rockabilly, and he has a dream where he goes into his own head, and then he inside his own head he goes around trying to collect the stuff he needs to be a rockabilly, but he also has to dance to kind of collect the stuff he needs. So yeah, you have to dance basically. And
why isn't this game? Why haven't you already made $1 million off this game? This sounds like go inside.
Yeah, it's out there.
Where is it?
Somebody's done a Let's Play of it on YouTube somewhere. It wasn't like massive. I made it in a weekend, but I was actually I kind of liked the game. It didn't really get much love or anything, but I sort of like it. I'm
going to tell everyone I know about it immediately after the show is over.
Yeah, it's
Rockabilly Head. Everybody, go play it.
Rockabilly Head. Yeah, it's a little bit like a Razorhead, but it's Rockabilly Head. So he wants to be a rockabilly in Yoyogi Park in Tokyo, which is where a lot of rockabillys are.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That about Tokyo.
There's a lot of rockabillys in Yoyogi. There's it's you know, it's like guys in their 40s, 50s who've got the full-on slick rockabilly hair.
Oh sure, I got my finger broken at a rockabilly.
And you know,
I don't know if you see that finger.
Was that by a rockabilly?
It was by a rockabilly. Yeah. It was painful.
Seriously, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Japanese ones are quite the same, but like I've never seen an American rockabilly, but I imagine they're the originals, right?
Yeah, I think so. That's where it started, I think, sadly.
Yeah. So like, yeah, they just dance on a Saturday or Sunday all afternoon with a ghetto blaster and like dance to rockabilly tunes. And
I had no idea.
Cool Elvis moves, you know, like a bit like sort of if you ever seen Wild at Heart, right? If you ever seen
not in a while, but yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, like Nicolas Cage's kind of moves in that movie, you know, like they're just doing that all day long. It's great. So yeah, he's a guy that wants to be one of those guys, and but actually, I won't tell you the twists. You'll see.
No, I'll play it. That's exciting. Trust me, I will play it, and we'll see the twist. Renegade Kids Jules is actually in the audience, and he's now asking. We've already talked about it if you're still watching, Jules, but now that Jasper knows you're here, he can address you directly if you'd like to. Would you like Renegade Kid to work on porting your game to the 3DS eShop? Yes or no?
Wow. I would like to talk about it. I would definitely like to talk about it. I'd just like to see what it would involve at this point, you know.
Have you played any of Renegade Kids games? They did Dementium which is a survival horror first person, and they did Mutant Mudds, which is like a 2D back to basics.
Yeah, that dimension was really cool. Yeah, I've actually I haven't played it, but I've seen videos of it because it really caught my eye, and I really like the look of that. So I will definitely have to check that out now.
The new game is more in visuals, like your game. And actually, his playing Jules is...
it is. It's quite gritty, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very pretty. And it uses a lot of depth of field.
Gritty. Yeah, gritty.
Oh, gritty. Yeah.
Gritty.
Is gritty. Mutant Mudds is pretty. Because Mutant Mudds uses a lot of depth of field, which your game does too, which was what made me actually think.
I haven't even seen this. Well, I've seen a couple of games on the 3DS, but I've never seen a pixel game done on 3DS. And I know you were saying to me, like, it works really well. I'd love to see it in action, actually. Yeah.
I should just send you... I'll just send you a 3DS then with some games on it. I can do that, right?
Nah, you don't have to do that.
I'll do it.
I can get a 3DS now, Jonathan.
You should
do it now. If I was going to make a port on it, I would get a 3DS.
That makes sense. Sense. I'll see if I can dig one up for you. I might want to lying around.
Well, that would be very nice, but you don't have to, honestly.
You wouldn't be able to play anything but American games on it, so that would be kind of a double-edged sword, actually.
The old ones weren't. The DS wasn't region locked, was it?
They started region locking with the DSi. I know.
Why step backwards like that?
What are they thinking?
I love that about the PS3. It's really nice. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Play games. Yeah, I mean, I'm joining in the last month of the Dark Souls server in the US next month. And I'm going to be online there. Playing for the last, because you have to use the US version of the game, obviously.
Oh, that's right.
Play, and it's going offline next month, Demon Souls.
Because Dark Souls is kind of taking...
Yeah, they're finally taking the server down for the original, so yeah. But yeah, that's great. I can just put in an American game, put in a Japanese game. It just works.
It's only common
Why
sense.
not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Right?
It's a strange thing.
Why impose artificial limitations,
I know. It would be one thing if it were like a new Pac-Man game or something where you need limitations in order to structure. But this is our lives. We just want to play video games.
This is our lives. It is, though.
Yeah,
it's important.
I think
it's first world problems here we're solving. Yeah.
I should remind people that we're giving away $30 worth of money for the Threadless store. You can get a shirt like this. It's the Star Fox Realistic People Animals shirt. They're doing a Trebby question in about 22 minutes, or a little bit before the show ends, so that'll be fun. Potato Sam 5000 asks, Jasper, would you like to make more Kinect games, like Survival Horror Kinect? Is that even possible? People have tried. Sega had that game, Rise of Nightmares, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think I'd have to say no, because I mean, I just have terrible memories of because one of the things I was working on Kinectimals was the ball throwing, and it's not a thing that works very naturally with Kinect, and without having a button, any kind of sharp release action, any kind of fast reaction doesn't read very well, and especially if it's towards camera like that. So a throw is very hard to read. An underarm, I mean, it's probably easier for like an American throw, but all English players were throwing underarm, so we had to support that as well. And just so basically, I stood there all day long going like this, like a sort of a little bit like one of those like gold nodding cats, like. Do you know the ones I mean, yeah?
I think so, yeah. That was what they used your talent for. It's like, make sure you get Jasper to just waggle his arm in front of the Kinect all day today. You gotta get that right.
Yeah, because you try and develop like the easiest motion possible to trigger a throw while debugging, because you're doing this all day long, so you're testing your levels over and over again. So you try and develop like little weird shoulder twitches to actually get it to happen, glitchily, like. Kind of.
That's not the best use of
that sort of RSI after months and months of crunch is I just don't want to ever go through that again. And for that reason alone, I don't think I could ever make another Kinect game.
You've made the highest rated survival horror game of the year thus far, and at one point Microsoft had you just wiggling in front of a Kinect instead of Oh, I'm gonna try not to be too sad about it. Looks like I skipped.
Well, I was making Lone Survivor at that time. Coming home and with my newborn baby, like like sort of crying on my knee, like making Lone Survivor. So that's maybe why I made Lone Survivor. I don't know. I don't know.
A question for Moldenite. Do you enjoy God games like Black and White and Dungeon Keeper? And have you thought of making a game like that?
Yeah.
Lone Survivor.
What games? What did you call them?
Black and White and Dungeon Keeper. They're the two that were
specific. Although, I never really got to play Dungeon Keeper. I love the look of it. It really appeals to me. But I love Populous. It's one of my it's one of my early favorites actually.
Sure.
Something about that game is really well balanced, and the original one and the second one is kind of good. I think the original one might be better actually. It's sort of so simple, and the art's so cute on it. There's something really appealing about the look and the kind of the simplicity of the mechanics on it. And actually, there's an indie guy who's making a new Populous. It's so in the same way as the kind of Legend of Grimrock is an absolute homage to Dungeon Master.
Sure.
Well, there's another indie guy sort of making a really interesting looking Populous type game at the moment, which I like the look of. I can't remember what it's called.
We'll figure it out later. We'll use the internet. We'll look it up.
Yeah, so it might be it might be interesting one to watch actually.
Only you have 9 minutes left. There's so much I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you know, I like to do pixel art myself. I love the pixel art in your game. I wanted to touch upon that and the brilliance of the way you made each pixel its own piece of art that's like shaded almost so it looks like it was hand knitted. You've like made one of the first games that looks knitted. It's amazing. Was that your idea? That was brilliant.
I've been working on this kind of stuff for quite a long time. Actually, if you look back at Sunless Mountain, it's probably the first one I did it in, I think. But that was in sort of early 2008, and so for the last 4 years I've been experimenting with this kind of stuff quite a lot. And one of the things I think maybe I try to do differently is that a lot of other indie developers are doing stuff that's maybe very classically retro, by which I mean like the proportions of characters, the color palettes, being reminiscent of the NES and things like that, and also the music being like 8-bit chiptune type music and stuff. So I'm not making like low res stuff just for kind of retro reason, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, if I could, I would explore technology much more. I'm really into that, and like the processing on Lone Survivor is far more complex than it probably looks. Like there's about 14 layers of things going on the screen on top of the actual art, and
awesome.
all it sort of moving and interacting with each other. And I almost went crazy making it. I think I spent probably 2 months solid just tweaking those things, literally like looking at bits of grain and like scan lines and just to get it exactly how I had it in my head.
Right, sure.
I think it's deceptively hard to get that stuff to look interesting on everything that you put through it.
Absolutely.
And kind of just balancing out the art behind it so that it was neither fully pixel or with a low palette or fully painted and stuff.
Right.
But obviously that stuff does a lot to hide it as well, because it is like, as you say, it's like there's a texture on each pixel, and there's a certain amount of like movement within each frame, so you can each pixel actually mutates each time the image is updated. So
it's constantly feeling alive while being simple in such a way that you can relate. Like I relate with the character into the Lone Survivor much better than I do in a lot of polygon-based games, just because that could be me due to the simplicity of the style.
That's what I love about pixel art. It's it can be a stylistic choice because especially with horror, everyone says that the less you show, it's like
Mhm.
the scarier it is, you know.
Right.
And so yeah, I think with pixel art, it kind of it adds all of that room for interpretation. Obviously, that
Mhm.
you can project your own character face onto it, and
Yeah. The
yeah, I'm
game
really interested in
feels.
that because he sort of yeah, I was interested in like the idea of him being a bit of a cipher
Mhm.
initially, but by the end of the game, you've sort of imprinted yourself on him, you know,
Mhm.
um, on the character.
Sure. And then the things he does feels like the game almost feels like a memory. Like it feels like I'm playing something that resonates like something
Ah,
that happened to me. And I'm
that's
trying to
very
get people.
interesting.
Oh,
Ah,
thanks. And I'm trying to get people who
ah,
are scared to play survival horror to give it a try because it's not the kind of survival horror that like makes you feel constantly threatened. It's a kind of survival horror that makes you question whether anything has any worth at all, or whether you're just totally screwed all the time. It's more like a horror book in that way than a horror novel. Like a book will make you feel like
yeah.
kind of a calm sense of dread, whereas a movie will make you feel like they're gonna get you. Crap! I have 4 minutes left. Before I wanted to talk about mental illness. Why didn't I open the show with mental illness? Next
You
time,
should
mental
have.
illness.
Ah,
Damn it! We have
because I mean
four
that is
minutes.
a big part of it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I'd love to just say that. Yeah, I did actually do quite a lot of research into it
Oh yeah.
for this, and although I wouldn't want to sort of share what I feel is Yu's problem,
Sure.
is what I feel Yu's issue or problem or whatever. I did do a lot of research into it, and I kind of I wanted to treat the subject matter with some respect,
Hmm.
because it's something very easy to like bandy around words like batshit insane or crazy, and and actually people dealing with serious problems, it's very unhelpful to do that, and this is about a guy who's going fucking nuts or whatever.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's it's not. It's like it's a guy with a genuine problem and a real problem that
Hmm.
hopefully I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm actually trying to treat with some respect, and hopefully people
So
feel
much
that,
respect.
or don't feel that it was sort of in some way exploitative, if you see what I mean. Because I think
Yeah.
it's very easy to do that. Make a horror film that's just or game or whatever that's very exploiting that fact.
Yeah.
Oh, he's psychotic. He's crazy.
As
But
someone who's worked with
there's so
thousands
many
of.
shades of grey.
Oh,
Jonathan. There's so
absolutely.
many shades of grey, right? And
As
and
someone.
I've known people and uh, you know uh, I've had friends and things who've dealt with a lot of similar problems, and yeah, it's so I guess um, I'm not saying that he's like walking around having mad hallucinations either as well.
Mm,
Um, what you're seeing in the game is not necessarily even what he's seeing, right?
right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
not
that's kind of
necessarily.
one hint I would say, like um, so maybe it's how he's interpreting like the world rather than it's what he's actually seeing. I'm not saying
Right.
he's having mad hallucinations or anything
Right. It could
necessarily.
be so many things, and
Although that's the way it appears to him as a character.
but that's the ambiguity of mental health issues. Oh, I should have
Yeah,
opened the show with that. I could talk about that all day. But thank you
yeah,
for
we could. Yeah, I mean, it's
you.
something I find really interesting, and yeah,
You did such a wonderful job with it. I just want to thank you for being one of the few games. I think Deadly Premonition did a pretty good job of showing the
yeah. Agent York
nonchalance
was a
of it
really
too.
interesting character. He was. Yeah.
But I have to do trivia now. I want to talk about it, but I can't. We have to do trivia because we have
Mm.
1 minute. So the
I'd
trivia
love to talk
question.
about Zach. I would love
Yeah,
to.
but you can come back on the show anytime. You
All
can be
right.
on every week if you want, as far as I'm concerned.
Excellent.
But here's the question: who is the Bionic character from Resident Evil 1 that was removed from the game before it was released? I think we have a graphic that shows that question in a much uh, more well-spoken way. But yeah, there was
Ah.
like a Bionic guy in Resident Evil 1 and he like lifts up the roof at one point, I guess, and they cut him before the game was released. There's also like an Eddie Murphy type guy who's supposed to be funny, because the Resident Evil would have been a lot better with Eddie Murphy, I guess. Yeah, that's the question. Please, holmes@gmail.com. Email your answers to that. And I think we have to end the show. Gosh dang it. Anything you want to say, Jasper, before we go?
Oh, well, thanks for having me, man. It's been great. It's been great to finally catch up, and yeah.
I love you, man.
I hope to come on the show again sometime. Yeah, that would be great.
We fell in love a little. Did we fall in love?
What? I think we fell in love. I think something happened here today. Yeah, like I felt it. I felt it. Yeah,
I felt it too. Thank you. I didn't force you to say that at all. I didn't.
It's been lovely, man. Thank you very much. And yeah,
I wonder if we're still on.
Yeah.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired. What's up, Holmes?